Madam President, we cannot hear you.
I have to unmute myself. Haha. That gives more time to make sure that all the hands are lowered so that we can now ask Mr. Yuen, David Yuen, to talk about Cantonese interpretation. Go ahead, please, Mr. Yuen.
Sure. 歡迎今日你哋嚟到今日嘅教育委員會嘅會議啦。咁如果你需要廣東話嘅翻譯嘅咧，咁你就可以去到 control 嗰度，咁你就撳嗰個 interpretation， 你見到喺下邊有個 bar 咧，佢係寫 interpretation 即係翻譯嘅。咁你翻譯嗰度咧，你就揀 Chinese， 咁咧就會去到廣東話翻譯噶啦。咁你要做到咁樣先聽到嘅。唔該晒。同埋你舉手話需要翻譯，同埋你要舉手下，你舉手話需要廣東話翻譯，請你去舉你嘅手啦。咁我哋知道有冇人需要翻譯。唔該 ，thank you。
Okay. I do see a hand of Mr. Mordecai, but I don't believe Mr. Mordecai needs Chinese interpretation. So I believe we will just for this item run Spanish interpretation. And if you would give me a moment, Madam President, I will. Okay, Spanish interpretation is live, Madam President. Please proceed.
Madam President, we cannot hear you.
Okay, sorry. For the past few meetings, we have been piloting Spanish interpretation. We also tried to pilot Cantonese interpretation at the last meeting. Unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, we weren't able to provide interpretation at all. Tonight, we will try again to offer Spanish and Cantonese interpretation. As we did for the last meeting, we will be asking those who need interpretation to raise their hand before each item so that we know that interpretation is requested. From our first online meeting, we made sure to take safety precautions. Of course, regardless of what platform we are using, we cannot anticipate what a speaker says, just like with an in-person meeting. Indeed, at one of our first online board meetings, a member of the public made an incredibly racist statement and then hung up. While it only lasted a second, such speech is not welcome at our board meetings, in our schools, in our district, or in our community. If it happens at this meeting, I will do my best to immediately have the speaker's mic muted, but please know that doing so is not immediate as the mic is controlled by staff and I need to ask them to mute. We are now in week 15 of the shelter in place. This is also the last regular school board meeting of this school year. And what a year it has been. On behalf of the board, I would like to express our deepest thanks and gratitude to our employees, our families, and the entire Oakland community for how you have supported each other and come together during these unprecedented times. Particularly our students. This has been very hard for you, and we really appreciate how you have worked together with your friends, your teachers, your parents to really, make this the best it could be. Now, for the usual basic instructions regarding how we are going to be using Zoom today and involving members of the community. All board members and the superintendent will be on video throughout the board meeting. Some staff members are also present. Depending on the screen view, you might even see staff names. Staff will only be on video if they are presenting or responding to board questions. Members of the community will not be on video and will be muted except during public comment. There are multiple ways to make public comment during the meeting. If you have joined via computer, you can raise your hand by clicking on the Raise Your Hand feature. If you have joined via phone, you can raise your hand by pushing *9. Ms. Floyd will call each member of the public who has raised their hand, either by name or, for those who have called in, by the last 3 digits of the phone number. I want to say here that if you wish to offer public comment tonight, you should expect that you will have 1 minute and that on each item, we will take public comment for a total of 30 minutes. I'm sure that there will be some items where there will be more people who want to speak than we will have time to hear from. And we are very sorry about that, but we have a very long agenda with many, many items that we need to get to. So we have to find some ways to to hear from you all and make sure we get to our business. So once your name is called, either by your name or by your phone number, the area code in the last 3 digits, Ms. Floyd will unmute you and you may then give public comment. After your time, your 1 minute has elapsed, Ms. Floyd will remute you and move on to the next person. E-comments will also be available during the meeting. To make an e-comment, and we have received many, many, many already today and this week, please go to ousd.org and scroll down to the Legislative Information Center, upcoming events and live meeting video, and click on the e-comment link to submit comments on an agenda item for a meeting in progress. To make public comment in Spanish, please follow these instructions as well. Before starting your public comment, however, please state in Spanish that you would like translation, or Chinese if you later in the meeting want that. We will then need to get the translator ready for consecutive translation. Please say 1 sentence or phrase at a time and then wait for it to be translated into English. The speaker will, of course, be given extra time. I will try to remember to repeat these instructions before each public comment period. I'm now going to move to item G, which is the President's Statement of Reportable Action taken in closed session. Labor matters. On item C1, number 19-1555, Conference with Labor Negotiators, the board received a report on this matter, discussed it, and provided direction. On item C2, number 19-1273, regarding anticipated litigation, the board approved a settlement in this matter on a motion by Vice President Gonzalez and second by Director Harris. All directors voted in favor, with Director Yee absent. On item C3, 201346, existing litigation, the board approved a settlement in this matter, as I described previously, motion by Vice President Gonzalez, second by Director Harris. On item C4, number 201362, Conference with Legal Counsel Anticipated Litigation, the board approved a settlement in this matter. On item C5, number 090502, Conference regarding anticipated litigation, we did not take up this matter. On items C6, C7, C8, C10, and C11 regarding anticipated litigation, the board approved a settlement in each of these matters on a single motion by Vice President Gonzalez and second by Director Hinton Hodge. All directors voted in favor. On item C9, number 19-1561, anticipated litigation, the board discussed this matter. On item C12, number 201377, anticipated litigation, the board discussed this matter and provided direction. Pupil matters. On items C13 through C15, the board heard this matter and will vote on it in public section V, as in Victor. So that concludes my opening report out on item G. Our oath of office is listed in the agenda. We solemnly affirm that we will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of California, and the Charter of the City of Oakland, and will perform the duties of a school board director to the best of our ability. We are now going to move to, and I need to just adjust my, excuse me, I want to find my own remarks. We're now going to move to item I, which is special item orders of the day. We have one item here today. This is item I1, 201335. This is the elimination of the Department of Police Services, adoption by the Board of Education of resolution number 1920-0260, George Floyd resolution to eliminate the Oakland Schools Police Department. This is being brought forward by Directors Torres and Gonzalez. Before I turn it over to them, I just want to frame this up a little bit. This is a historic moment. The question of how we ensure safety in our communities and our schools is influenced by institutional racism, as recent events and longstanding history demonstrate. As we embark on this conversation this evening, let's be respectful of each other and of our district employees. We recognize the need to reimagine school safety in Oakland Unified, and are pleased that many community stakeholders are committed to being engaged throughout the process. One procedural step will occur today, and that is the elimination of all positions in the Oakland Schools Police Department. This will come later in the evening on our consent agenda. New positions and job descriptions are key to reshaping the safety plan. This includes elimination of sergeants, police officers, school security officers, security and safety coordinators and management, chief of police. The district is going to be entering into negotiations and discussions with the unions that represent these different positions, including CSEA, SEIU, and UAOS. We believe these discussions with our labor unions will result in new roles to cultivate a positive culture and climate for all students. So that item that I just mentioned is item P19, and it comes up on our consent agenda later in the evening. We are now going to turn to the resolution at hand. I want to propose procedurally that we need to have a motion made and put on the floor. I then believe that the superintendent would like to offer some comments, and then I would like to go to public comment, and then we can have board deliberation. Does that work for everybody?
Yes, I'll make the resolution.
Okay, and when we go to public comment, the Black Organizing Project, Jessica Black, I have told them that they will have 5 minutes in advance of the 30 minutes that's designated for public comment. This is something that we have done when other groups have been bringing forward a specific initiative. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Director Torres.
Madam Chair, I did not hear the mover or seconder. I heard a mover.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. Wait, let's start again. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Director Torres is
second
asking that be moved.
And I'll second
Moved by Director Torres, seconded by Director Hinton Hodge.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Torres, did you want, and Director Gonzalez is the maker, the people who've brought this forward, did you want to offer any comments right now?
Very brief comments. One, I would say I'm very happy to see Director Garibo here, and I appreciate Director Garibo as a student, as a graduate of OUSD, about to go to college. I want to say thank you for your work on this, and we started somewhat in March on this topic around the time of our usual annual budget cuts. And the difficulties as all of our board members face, what gets cut, what stays. We hate to do it, and yet there we are every March. And so I appreciate your work. I appreciate all city council for the 8 years that I've been on this board, at June having to adopt a budget every June and not having enough money. So I do want to say thank you to you, thank you to all students. I know that Hema Quetzal is probably one of the 613 participants at this point. And you know, Hema doesn't go away, thank goodness, because she's one of the brightest stars Oakland will have ever produced. And I vote for Hema Quetzal for president 15 years. Anyway. So I also want to say thank you to Black Organizing Project, and I know they're going to speak briefly. Their work, their studies, their commitment, and really their commitment is simply to the students of Oakland, the young people of Oakland. The children that are babies in Oakland right now are going to face a different setting, a different culture, a different climate, and hopefully will have nothing but a positive experience in OUSD schools. As a result of the work that we're beginning, because I will say this is just one resolution that is the beginning, and the superintendent and her staff are going to be doing significant work hereafter. It is really just one small bucket of a very large bucket of work. And so I want to thank everyone for their support. We have several letters and emails from pastors, the faith-based community. I had watched videos that were sent to me of folks in West Oakland particularly, but also other parts of the city, nonprofit organizations, and many others who are experts on the topic of students interacting with police. And so it's been great. Even Lincoln, which used to be called Lincoln Child Center, run by Tony Thurman. I feel that everybody paying attention to this needs to come to the table towards the bigger bucket, which is the safety plan. And as I say to people, this is not, the police department was not there to provide safety for the 38,000 students when it's 10 officers. It could be a false sense of security. What's about to go down in that bigger bucket of the safety plan is really safety around mental health of students, safety around racial and implicit bias, other issues, right? And so protecting our students so they go to college like Denelson, Director Garibo, protecting students so that they don't get pushed out of class for suspensions and expulsions that are racially biased. That's really the bigger work here. And so I want to say thank you to all of you who have written thousands of emails, and then the organizations that represent even more people on the letters, the videos, and ultimately thank you to the board for the deep dive of understanding this issue, because this was never about these 10 individuals that make up the police, the sworn officers. This was never about SSOs and who they are. This was about a different change and shift in the culture of OUSD. And having been a parent of OUSD and a citizen of Oakland for 16 years, the biggest, worst thing that I fear is when people don't give OUSD a try. They don't give OUSD a try because the building might not look so pretty. It's old. They were built many years ago. We're working on it. They might not give OUSD schools a try because there's a lot more students of color than other districts or other private schools. And so you miss out, families. You miss out if you don't give your children an OUSD education. You miss out on the beauty of the diversity, which is why you live here. So please consider OUSD schools and know that this is a historic time that we are working towards every aspect of what it means for your child to come to school and be safe in every capacity, physically, mentally, spiritually. Your child must be safe when they're on OUSD campus, and that's what I think this represents. This is in no way a negative remark towards Chief Godown. He's been excellent. So I wanted to get that in as well, and thank you to the directors that helped edit this. Director James Harris and Vice President Gonzalez, your invaluable contribution to this resolution that was brought to us by Black Organizing Project as a draft of what's going around in other school districts. I really appreciate all of your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Torres. Let's go now to Superintendent Johnson Trammell.
Thank you, Board President London. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining this meeting tonight. I just want to share some remarks before we actually go into board discussion on this very important topic. I stand strong in my resolve to reimagine school safety and positive school culture without an OUSD school police department. As an educator, I know that our students and staff must be safe physically and emotionally. School safety is the foundation to create a positive school culture where all students are held to high academic expectations so that they can truly thrive. In reflecting over the past few weeks, it has become clear to me that we must answer this call in this moment in a way that fundamentally transforms how we operate as a school system and community. Police in schools are ultimately a symptom of a much larger issue. And if we are going to really make progress, it is not enough to merely remove the symptom. We have to transform the underlying conditions within the school system that have brought us to this place in the first instance. Oakland has been a pioneer in many ways around transforming school culture. Our mission and vision for building community schools recognizes the necessity of meeting students' socio-emotional needs as the basis for college, career, and community success. Our nationally recognized restorative justice and trauma-informed initiatives have helped the district to greatly reduce suspensions and create alternatives to traditional school discipline. Our nationally recognized African American Achievement Office, which has had a relentless focus on improving academic outcomes and life outcomes for Black students, has now given birth to the Office of Equity to focus on issues of disproportionality among African Americans, Latinx, and Asian Pacific Islander students. Now, as I look at this list of strengths and accomplishments, upon which we must build. I just have to pause for a moment to recognize and honor the visionary leadership of Chris Chapman, who birthed the AAMA office and has led the development of the Office of Equity. Chris has truly been a gift to this district and community. He has and continues to be a fierce advocate for Black children, demanding that our system stay focused on the work to disrupt and transform mindsets and behaviors that hinder Black excellence. He will be moving away from OUSD to lead this same work nationally among many districts across our nation to continue the fight to improve academic and life outcomes for Black students across the country. I am proud to have been able to work with him and know that we will continue to benefit from his passion and wisdom as we continue to move this work forward. Thank you, Chris. In this moment, though, with the energy and focus of our community behind us, we must advance our work around reimagining the culture of our schools. We can and we must deepen the partnerships with other government agencies and nonprofits to build cross-sector coalitions and reimagine how we use city resources together with district resources to address the root causes of disproportionality. We must remember that the creation of a thoughtful and inclusive process for developing an alternative safety plan is far deeper and more complex than just the removal of school-based police. It will require an ongoing commitment of all OUSD educators, certificated staff, classified staff, both at school sites and central office, working hand in hand and in partnership with our students and families to change practices in order to transform our organizational mindset and behavior towards Black and Brown students and families. This work will be difficult, but together we can reimagine how to create safer, healthier, and more welcoming school environments that promote academic excellence for all of our students in a way that builds on our restorative justice roots, our strong foundation of community schools, and critical partnerships throughout the city. I look forward to this work.
Thank you, Superintendent. At this time, we're going to move to public comment. As I stated earlier, we're going to start with the Black Organizing Project, which will have 5 minutes. And I believe that Miss Jessica Black is speaking through, she's going to sit down at Director Garibo's seat. Perfect. So she will have 5 minutes. But then what we will do is we will go to the general public, and there will be 30 minutes for public comment. Each person will have 1 minute when we get there. We recognize that we will not have time to hear from everyone tonight. You can submit electronic comments, and we have received well over 1,000 emails. I know I have on this topic. So do please keep coming. Ms. Black, welcome and thank you for all your work. The organizing in your organization's name is well-founded. I have feel very well organized around this issue. And we will allow you to please do proceed, and you'll have 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I just want to thank the community, all those thousands of people that you all heard from. I want to thank all of the teachers, the students, the parents, the community that has brought us to this historical moment, 10 years in the making. I most of all want to really give love and thanks to the Black Organizing Project members, parents, students, community members that have tirelessly worked to bring data that you all could accept and understand, to work on policies of reform throughout the years, to develop a people's plan so that we could bring a vision for this district. As you know, we have worked on several policies over the last 10 years, and we have stood by all 10 years. We've stood through the implementation. We've stood through the long school board meetings. We've stood through several superintendents. We've stood through transitions of school board members. We've still been here, and we intend to be here through the community process to make sure that the community that has called for this is in fact at the table developing the vision for what's to come. We are not naive, and we didn't get here this far by being naive. We understand that the issue of having law enforcement in schools is a deeper rooted issue. And we would just say that this isn't a small bucket. This is a historic moment. Letting go of the issue of law enforcement that has oppressed our communities for centuries is critically important. And we understood that that's why it's taken us 10 years to do this. In 2011, we set out to abolish the Oakland Unified School Police Department. And we understood that there would be resistance, because just like any system, we are attached to it, even when it hurts us. We understood that our ancestors had to fight hard to let go of a segregation system. And sometimes even folks that claim to be progressive had a hard time letting go too. And we are still fighting to understand what true freedom in this country looks like. But we intend not only to work towards implementation, but we want to mark this moment that abolishing that system is critically important. And so as you all have come to hear what we are saying and have moved forward in a way that we hope has really listened to the community, we appreciate that. And we want to, really pick up on what the superintendent says, and make no mistake about it, we will be at the table. This is not a lift, certainly just for the district. The teachers union has been in solidarity with us. We have had real conversations. We have support of labor and community, as you know, and we will be there to design the vision going forth. We are not looking for the district to do this on our behalf. We are looking for the district to support the community, the voice, and the solidarity of all the partners who will bring their vision and their resources to the transformation of the Oakland Unified School District. And we hope that everyone across the country who's watching will be able to say that this moment was a moment that they saw transformation in Oakland and transformation across this country, because having an embedded police department is a very particular thing that we have here in Oakland. And it's something that we need to show the country does not work. So we thank you today for being here. I want to turn a couple more of my minutes over to one of our parents who has been working with us through this process. Again, I just want to reiterate that what we're asking to do is, we named this the George Floyd resolution. We are here because he brought us to a moment in this country where we could no longer wait. And I think of his daughter who said, "My daddy is going to change the world." And truly, I believe that today her daddy helped change Oakland. We are also here in the spirit of Raheem Brown, who died in 2011 at the hand of Oakland Unified School Police Department. And we told his mother that we would work to change this system, not just for justice for Raheem, but for all sons of mothers who have to cry and ask what happened to their child. So we look forward to a new future with you, and we look forward to you supporting the George Floyd resolution.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for allowing me to, I want to make sure I'm right, to be a part of this. I want to say thank you to your OUSD school board. I am a parent. I have been a part of VOP for a while. As a parent, I want to say that I speak for people who are like me, who started off thinking that they didn't have a voice. I was raised in Oakland. Went to many of the schools, graduated, went to Castlemont, and my children are now a part of OUSD, and it saddens me that we have to go through a system that has police. If I go through San Leandro, if I go through Hayward, there's no police there. And especially with everything that's going on in our country with George Floyd, it saddens me to know that if my kids go back to school another year, they may have to see police. And so I'm asking and I'm encouraging you all to please make a decision tonight, if possible, to take the school police out of the schools. This is not based on just one person doing something. This is based on the whole unit, because I believe that there are other resources where the money could go to. I have 2 children who have disabilities, and if they were able to get the help that they needed, instead of going to school, seeing police, getting anxiety, which was one of the things that they were suffering from, I believe that it would help not only my children, but children that are like my children of color, Black and brown. And so I'm asking you to please eliminate the OUSD police, take them out of the schools, use the resources for things that are much needed, such as nurses, transportation, after-school programs, things that are of that nature. I appreciate you for listening to me. I appreciate everyone for really paying attention. And like she just said, this is not a drop in the bucket. I have been here to work, and I'm going to continue to work even after my children graduate. I have a first grader all the way up into high school, but I'm going to continue to do the work until the work is done. Thank you very much. The world is watching you.
Thank you very much to the Black Organizing Project. We really appreciate hearing from you. We're now going to move to public comment. As I said, we will have 30 minutes for public comment. At this time, you should raise your hand, although I think there's already more than 30 hands raised. So I'm going to turn to, I also need to, I think we're okay with the translation. Let's go ahead, Ms. Floyd, if you could call the first speaker, please.
First speaker is Jim Mordecai.
Mr. Mordecai, are you available? Let's call the next speaker, please.
The next speaker is a call-in speaker, area code 415. The last three digits are 894. President London, I'm having some difficulty. Perhaps Mr. Seychow could call the speakers until I get this straightened out.
Mr. Seychow, can you please call the next speaker?
Next speaker is Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura from District 6. I'm calling for you to pass the George Floyd resolution, and anything less than that will not be accepted. It's wild to me that our teachers are mandated reporters, and the police that are in our schools are repeatedly enacting abuse on children that actually falls under what a teacher would be required to report by law. Low-income families are blamed for neglect while we are literally traumatizing and abusing students while they're at school. One piece I wanted to call out from the resolution is that Black students make up 26% of the enrollment and yet made up 73% of arrests, accounting for 3 out of 4 of the arrests in our schools. This amount has actually gone up since the 2013 report. So that means that the proportion of Black students has gone down, but the proportion of arrests of Black students has gone up. Oakland needs to break with the school to prison pipeline. This is a root cause of harm to our students, as we know that incarcerated youth have higher rates of suicide, higher rates of being sexually assaulted while detained, and higher depression rates. Police need to be out of our schools now, no discussion with the unions, but cut them all now and pass the George Floyd resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Yes, the next speaker is Jim Mordecai.
Let's come back to Mr. Mordecai if we have time.
I don't want to be in the queue. I didn't put myself in. Some type
Okay, Mr. Mordecai, you're not in the queue. Your hand somehow was raised. Can we call the next speaker, please?
The next speaker is area code Colin Listener, area code 415, last 3 digits, 894.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Yes, hello. This is Jeremy Miller, Program Director with the Idris Selly Foundation, also a former Alameda County school teacher as well as San Francisco County school teacher. I want to applaud the Black Organizing Project for their diligent efforts and struggle to remove the police from Oakland Unified School District. I wholeheartedly endorse the George Floyd resolution, and I would add that for the last 10 years I've worked intimately with the family of Raheem Brown Jr. I have spoken with them as recently as this afternoon, letting them know that these proceedings are happening today, and I want to bring the love and support from the family of Raheem Brown Jr. for the removal of the police from the Oakland Unified School District. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is C. Pena.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Carla Pena, and I'm a resident of Oakland in District 4, and I'm calling today to urge you to pass the George Floyd resolution to eliminate Oakland Schools Police from OUSD. Police officers, SROs, anything of that kind we know do not keep students safe. Let us not fail our communities the way Oakland City Council failed its constituents last night. Please vote to keep Black and Brown students safe. Please vote to keep all students free from harm and pass the Black Organizing Project resolution for police-free Oakland schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we call the next speaker, please?
The next speaker is Sean Lee.
Madam President, my name is Sean Lee. I'm a lifelong resident of District 1, and I wish to speak in favor of the George Floyd resolution. I graduated from high school in 2012 and have tutored high school students across the district for 10 years. I do not deny the need for public safety officers on our campuses. However, the constant presence of peace officers on our campus with powers of arrest casts a shadow of fear over our students and constitute a physical manifestation of the school-to-prison pipeline, intimidate our students and distract from their learning. I applaud the efforts of this board to find ways to continue on the path of non-carceral paths to public safety, to student safety, and I commend it to the board.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Alexandra C. Excuse me.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Alex. I live in District 3, and I strongly support the George Floyd resolution to eliminate Oakland Police Department from our schools. The presence of cops in our schools criminalizes youth, especially our Black and brown children, and fosters the school-to-prison pipeline. We do not need police intervention. We need more counselors. We need more school programs, sports, arts, and all-around support for our students. We need to stop instilling fear and terror in Black children and start funding their future. What do you think our Black and brown kids think when school officials are calling the police on them in a place meant to keep them safe? No more cops and OUSD. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Roseanne R.
We can leave now.
Roseanne R.
Hi. Thank you for taking comments. I'm commenting on the Melrose leadership listing and asking.
I'm sorry, Miss Roseanne. That item comes up later in the agenda. Right now, we're talking about the resolution to eliminate the school police.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought that there was public comment and that was just for this, but that's just.
No. You'll need to stick around till much later in the evening. That's when we'll be getting to the bond list.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
Next speaker is Liz S.
Hi, my name is Liz Suck. I'm the political director at Oakland Rising. We partnered with BOP this week to conduct a phone banking and with their volunteers, and 64% of the vote of the callers agreed with passing the resolution for the George Floyd resolution and removing police from our schools. That this is overwhelming in support, is supported by the community and by voters. And I just want to thank some of the school board members that have really been moved this week by all of and listening to the constituents in your districts who have called and emailed and told you and brought and moved your hearts to take a moral stance that's backed by action. So I hope that you'll continue to partner with BOP on the implementation of this plan. And thank you.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Rachel G.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Rachel Gallman. I'm a resident of Oakland in District 1, and I'm asking you to vote in favor of the George Floyd resolution today without amendments or delays. I'm an educator working with high school-age teens all over Oakland and the Bay Area. In my years doing this work, what's become so clear is that children and youth thrive when they are invested in, treated with respect, and listened to. Black youth and youth of color are crying out for you to disband school police. They are telling you that police make them feel unsafe, dehumanized, and disrespected. They are asking you to pass the George Floyd resolution without amendments or delays today. You have the opportunity to send a message to your Black and POC students that your schools exist to lift them up, not to criminalize them. I ask that you take that opportunity and be an example for school boards all over the country that when Black and POC families and students cry out for justice, those in power should listen. Please vote in favor of passing the George Floyd resolution today. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Penny R.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Penny Rosenwasser, and I've lived in Oakland for 38 years. I volunteered in Oakland schools for 3 years, and I'm a teacher at the City College of San Francisco. And I stand with the Black Organizing Project and urge you, please adopt the George Floyd resolution for police-free schools to get the police out of Oakland schools and instead put the funds into restorative justice programs for our youth and bar any future contracts with law enforcement. As my Rabbi Dev Noily said in their video, students need the space to learn and make mistakes without risking their lives, their bodies, their freedom. Police violence is overwhelmingly perpetrated against Black and brown students and is a shameful expression of the structural racism that plagues our society. How can students learn and grow in an environment where they fear for their safety? Thank you.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is a call-in listener, area code 916. The last 3 digits are 232.
Hi, my name is Trish Bellinson. I'm a library tech in D7 and a parent of D2. Adopt the George Floyd resolution as is. Thank you, Black Organizing Project, for your tireless efforts to end the school-to-prison pipeline with police-free schools. I commend Directors Torres and Gonzalez for sponsoring the resolution and Director Ng for publicly supporting the resolution. BOP, educators, including principals, parents, community members, OEA, and SEIU all have spoken with petitions, letters, rallies, caravans. The ball's in your hands. There are seconds left. Sink the shot.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Emily N.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, proceed, please.
Hi. Thank you. My name is Emily Novick, and I'm an Oakland educator in District 6, and I stand with the Black Organizing Project to encourage you to pass the George Floyd resolution as it is written with no amendments, that being to fully eliminate the Oakland Schools Police. This resolution, as written, represents the changes that our community has been asking and advocating for. Police do not make students feel safe. Eliminating school police is needed to truly protect and serve the students of OUSD. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Mike H.
Thank you. Mike Hutchinson with the Oakland Public Education Network and the Journey for Justice National Alliance. And I'm also a candidate for school board in District 5. Raheem Brown. You know, this measure and resolution is long overdue. A lot of us have been really pushing for this for decades now. And, you know, when I was in school in Oakland, there was no school district police. This has been a new creation that the school board and the powers that be imposed upon the community. And it's long overdue that it's gone. You know, this is the same police department that attacked the community at a school board meeting last October. So we are asking the school board to take a moral stand and do the right thing and create police-free schools for our students. And I want to especially thank SEIU 1021 for agreeing to the job description change for school site officers. We want police-free schools. Now is the night for you to decide which side of history you're going to be on.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Bella.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Bella. I'm coming to urge you to pass the George Floyd resolution without amendment or delay. The district spends $6.5 million on policing and surveilling Oakland students. The police should be removed from OUSD schools, and this budget should be invested in programs that have proven to support youth, such as counselors, therapists, librarians, and after-school programs. The investment in policing has not made us safer. The presence of police in Oakland schools is a lethal threat to Oakland's Black and brown students. Students of color are targeted by those who are purported to protect them in what should be a safe space, their schools. Remove the police from Oakland schools and reallocate those funds into programs designed to actually help students achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Jen D.
Hi, my name is Jen Darmstadt-Holm. I'm a parent of a child at Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School in District 3. I'm also a member of the LCAP Parent Student Advisory Council, and I'm standing tonight with other members, including Mona Lisa Trevino and Reginald Mosley, to endorse the resolution. Our statement: we, the Parent Advisory Committee, as elected representatives of our peers from school site councils across Oakland Unified School District, endorse the George Floyd resolution to eliminate the Oakland Schools Police Department, with the understanding that the provision that the board directs the superintendent to reallocate funds previously used for sworn police officers towards student support positions such as school-based social workers, psychologists, restorative justice practitioners, or other mental behavioral health professionals as the budget supports to meet the needs of students, as we believe elimination alone does not provide for the safety of our children. Further, as PSAC members, we are lifting from the resolution a promise of an inclusive, community-driven process involving parents, students, teachers, school administrators, student support staff, the Black Organizing Project, and other community partners for completing a revised district safety plan that includes representatives from OUSD's advisory committees. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your service on the PSAC. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Sabir L.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Sabir Lockett. I'm a commissioner on the Oakland Army Base Community Jobs Oversight Commission. I do faith-rooted organizing for Faith Alliance for a Moral Economy, and I'm a father to a beautiful Black son. I'm speaking in favor of the George Floyd resolution without amendments or delays today. People of faith across the city mourn the loss and suffering of Black and brown lives, and we stand with the Black Organizing Project and partners and allies throughout Oakland against police in our education system. Our kids need love, support, and healthy environments to grow and thrive in their educational pursuits. Oakland communities of faith condemn terrorizing our children with the presence of law enforcement in our schools. We urge every school board member to stand with the Black Organizing Project and immediately vote yes on this unprecedented and path-breaking resolution to eliminate Oakland School Police Department. Lastly, we don't want or need police in the process. Community can do it itself.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Kate B.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please. Kate B, we hear you.
Okay, sorry. My name is Kate Betcher, and I'm a resident of Oakland. I'm calling to urge you to vote in favor of the George Floyd resolution today, immediately and without delay, and with no amendments. Black and brown students in Oakland deserve to be able to go to school without fear of the police. The Oakland School Police Department is born out of the racist war on drugs, and it does not need to be in our schools any longer. We have a special moment in time now to make a change and to make a difference for our students, and I urge you to do the right thing and to vote in favor of the resolution today. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Rhea B.
Hello?
Hi, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. My name is Rhea Boyd. I'm a pediatrician and a board member of the American Academy of Pediatrics California Chapter 1, which includes Oakland. As a pediatrician, we must promise our children and youth a learning environment free of the violence of police use of force, police surveillance, and police-administered discipline that interrupts and corrupts our students' learning environment and negatively impacts their mental and physical health and their social and emotional well-being. I want to thank Black Organizing Project for their leadership and wisdom and ask each of you to immediately vote yes on this unprecedented and path-breaking resolution to eliminate Oakland Schools Police Department. I urge every board member to support the resolution as it currently stands without amendment or delay, and to ensure that no hybrid models or substitutes for OSPD are instituted as a replacement. Give our kids, particularly our Black and Brown students, sanctuary from the violence of policing in their precious learning environments. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Vida M.
Can you hear me? Hello, my name is Vida Mendoza. I'm an upcoming freshman at Life Academy and ACC student leader. I'm here to talk about how RJ Adult Allies support students the way police never will. Restorative justice helps students fix conflicts they have with others and with themselves. Middle schoolers from across OUSD schools have met once a month every month during the school year to be a part of middle school ACC meetings. Students help organize many things, including the Middle School Ethnic Studies Conference. Students have worked hard to create an event for our peers to enjoy in order to learn new ways to solve conflicts and experience performances and art. As we planned, students also grew as leaders and public speakers. During my 3 years in ACC, a police officer never once joined us to offer their help. We are no longer going to have the support of our RJ Adult Allies because you cut them. How are police going to help us become better leaders? Police don't help students learn and grow into better people. Police shouldn't be at our schools. OUSD police need to be defunded.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Hema Q.
Can you hear me? Hi, my name is Yomara Mendoza Najera. I am a third grader at Think College now. Today I went to my school to see the construction for the new playground CCN and ICS is getting. I found out OUSD is not paying for it. Our principals wrote grants to get us a nature life playground. I am disappointed to know not all elementary schools will have the same as us. My question to you all is, why do you think it's okay to put money for the police, but not to make our schools beautiful? Who is the police protecting? Because the people who protect me are my teachers, my principals, and my coaches. Defund the police and give the money back to our schools now.
Next speaker is Hoku J.
Hello, my name is Hoku, and I'm an organizer with BAM. It's a coalition to defend affirmative action, integration, and immigrant rights, and fight for equality by any means necessary. I'm here to speak on behalf of BAM to support the George Floyd resolution and get school police and armed security out of Oakland schools. Inspired by the fiery spirit of the people of Minneapolis, there's a new civil rights movement in the streets of America, and it's changing history. For the current generation, they cannot remember a time when a mass popular movement had so much power to dictate the direction of a nation and change law and policy. From the standpoint of the movement, what happened to George Floyd is a product of institutional racism and inequality, not just a few bad apples. And so it should be no leap of understanding for the board that having school police in Oakland schools reflects the attitude and the prejudices of the leadership of the district. So there's an expectation that these police will be removed from the schools immediately, and the stigma of inferiority on Black and Brown will be a step towards being removed.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Andrea V.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. My name is Andrea Vasquez Jimenez. I'm the co-director of LAN, the Latinx Afro-Latin America Avia Yala Education Network based out of Toronto, Canada. We are in support of the Black Organizing Project and would like to ask to support also the George Floyd resolution on the elimination of the Oakland School Police Department. At LAN, we were a lead organization that pushed for police-free schools at the largest school board in Canada, the Toronto District School Board. It was transformative here, and it will be transformative there. Police-free schools is a human right, and students need the conditions created where they can learn and heal. The continuation of police in schools is gross negligence and an ongoing human rights violation. Support police-free schools now. I yield my time.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Dean W.
Hi, my name is Dean, and I'm a resident here in Oakland, and I'm calling in solidarity with the Black Organizing Project and the students of OUSD to urge you to pass the George Floyd resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we call the next speaker, please?
Next speaker is Audrey D.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Audrey Darnice, and I live in Oakland in District 3 and teach 4th grade at Manzanita Community School. I demand that you approve the George Floyd resolution as is without amendments. We must defund the school police and reinvest in restorative justice, as a high school student at Life Academy so eloquently stated and so passionately stated. Our Black students deserve safety and comfort at school. I also want to emphasize that you remove SSOs from their position under the police department and retrain and rehire SSOs under a different department. SSOs are valued members of our communities, and they are generally from Oakland and from the exact communities that our students serve. And they often have very important and impactful relationships with students. Train them to fulfill more of a social support or support staff role. And thank you so much to the Black Organizing Project for all the incredible organizing that they've been doing for the past 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's call the next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Jerica C. Jerica C.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, my name is Jerica Coffey, and I'm a proud member of the Oakland Education Association. I'm speaking today on behalf of OEA. We have, as an organization, as you've seen from the signatures we've gathered, and as you've probably seen from the hundreds of members who filled the streets on Monday, risking their health during a pandemic, and the hundreds of people who caravaned in their cars in front of 1000 Broadway, our membership is strongly in support of the George Floyd resolution to eliminate OUSD school police. We ask that it be passed without amendment. There are several reasons our members supports the resolution. First, we understand from the years of work done by organizations like the Black Organizing Project that we have a moral obligation to make our schools safer and more supportive for Black students. This is not a budget issue. It's an issue of life and death for our children. Even if we had millions of dollars in surplus, we would still be fighting for this resolution to eliminate OUSD school police, because our students and their families should know that we will not collaborate with institutions that have shown time and time again to enact trauma, harm, and death in our communities. Police are not mechanisms of safety. They're mechanisms that serve to snare students into the school to prison pipeline.
Thank you. We need to ask you to wrap up. We're almost out of time, and we have several more speakers.
Okay, thank you.
Going to be able to take about 3 more speakers. I apologize that we can't take everyone who wants to speak tonight, but as I stated earlier, we have many, many items on our agenda. So we'll take 3 more. Can you call the next speaker, please, Ms. Floyd?
Next speaker is Sam D.
Hi, this is Sam Davis. I'm speaking on behalf of Faith in Action East Bay. I'm also an OUSD parent and have been for 9 years. And I strongly, Faith in Action East Bay strongly supports the BOP proposal to remove the school police, and I hope that you will vote for it without delay or amendment. And I also want to second the comments of the earlier speaker, highlighting just the role of the school security officers and how important their role is at the school sites, and definitely support that part of the BOP proposal to upgrade them and increase their training so that they can be part of restorative justice at our school sites, because these security officers often have very close relationships with students at the school site, which is very important. And so they should be moved out of the police department and incorporated into another department within the district. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's call the next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Nomi S.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
My name is Noemi Soto, and I am the statewide coordinator for Dignity in Schools Campaign California. We are here standing in solidarity and in struggle with the Black Organizing Project, supporting their campaign to eliminate the Oakland Police School Department. We are here to support the civil, human, and educational rights of Black families, students, and communities of color in Oakland by eliminating the Oakland School Police Department. We urge every school board member to vote yes on the George Floyd resolution to eliminate Oakland Schools Police Department. And to the Black Organizing Project, we want to thank you for having the courage to fight and keep fighting. For almost 10 years, you took a stand against police when nobody else would. You persisted, you organized, and you have been preparing for this moment. DSC California is honored to stand with you and fight with you. Together, we are building from powerful blueprint that our Black ancestors have left for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's call the final speaker, please.
Final speaker on this item is Ariel T.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for your care and attention throughout. My name is Ariel Tonkin. I'm an artist and a Jewish lay leader and cantor at Temple Beth Abraham and Kehillah Community Synagogue in Oakland. I was here before the testimony of a third grade OUSD student brought God directly into the room, and I'm here because I was organized by the incredible leadership of the Black Organizing Project in their decade-long effort to organize our whole community around the issue of police in Oakland schools. I urge you to support the George Floyd resolution as presented by Jackie Byers and the Black Organizing Project in its entirety with no amendments or delays. We don't need police at the table. We need to ensure that no hybrid version of Black Organizing Project's resolution will be passed. This vote will set a precedent for our entire country. This vote will begin a healing process here in Oakland that will transform public schools across the United States.
Okay, thank you. That concludes public comment. We're now going to go to board debate. Can we take off the timer? Well, we're going to give board members, we'll give each board member 3 minutes if they want to issue statements or however you want to move. We'll start with you, Director Harris. Go ahead and let's give Director Harris 3 minutes, please.
The first thing is the resolution that's attached to the agenda is not the right resolution. It mentions the date July 17th. That should be August 17th. So the resolution that is attached to the agenda is not the resolution that Director Torres and I forwarded and should reflect the date of August 17th and not July 17th. Just wanted to ask, Director Torres is the maker of the motion. Are you seeing that and confirming that?
Yeah, we have a problem with regard to that. And I know we had confirmed with our staff before the deadline to make sure things were correct as to which draft. And so I'm not sure if we just need to bring up, well, if we need to just make an amendment to that issue, or should we hear from other board members?
If I may, directors, the version I'm looking at off the internet version of the agenda says that the board directs the superintendent to launch by no later than August 21, 2020.
Okay.
An inclusive community-driven process, and then it says plan to be ready to be implemented no later than December 31, 2020.
Okay. That is accurate. So then I'm looking at, for whatever reason, there's a difference in the documents that are on the iPad versus what's online, but that's accurate. And that reflects the conversation that Director Torres and I had earlier in the week. And so I just won't be long-winded. I think the superintendent spoke very eloquently. I think the representation from Bob was outstanding, and just really want to, again, just say thank you to all the young people that got a middle-aged guy to believe in the possibility that safety could be looked at differently, and to thank really George Floyd for his life, to thank people like Bobby Tolan for the sacrifices they made over the years, and we can go back and back and back, for bringing us to a moment where we are in a position to really look at what we can do differently, not only as policymakers, but as community, to understand the impacts of police in Black communities, the Black tax, in fact, that Black people pay and have paid for as long as we've been in this country, that extra. And so it's really a powerful and profound moment. But also, as I said to Bob, as I said to Director Torres and everybody on this issue, this is an incredible moment. But the moment is the work after. The moment is how we bring all of these pieces together and how we facilitate this conversation. I've had numerous conversations, be it with the mayor, be it with the chief probation officer, Wendy Still, be it with our colleagues at the city council. They are all extremely interested. And community, I would just ask that you help us keep their attention and help us keep their interest as we work on this. We are short on resources, but we are not short on ideas, and we live in one of the richest states in the world. So we can bring resources to bear to solve this problem. And I just want to, again, just thank all the young people for helping our old guy out. So thank you. I'll just stop there.
Thank you, Director Harris. Director Yee, go ahead.
Thank you. And Director Harris, as an old guy, I guess I'm the oldest guy, having participated in the Oakland Public Schools in one fashion or another for around 68 or 69 years. This is quite a moment, and it's both humbling and also a moment of pride to be able to see generations that are coming up advocating for something as moving as they do, with the hope and inspiration that the future can actually be different. As I said in my last comment at this time when we moved it forward, I think it's important for folks like you, Director Harris, and me, who are older and maybe slightly jaded about the possibility of change, to recognize that change won't come from what we do, but comes in the efforts of people that we can support who are coming up behind us. I want to thank the superintendent, and especially I wanted to thank all the site administrators and all the site security people, whether they're SSOs or, the Oakland School Police, who have committed themselves to being the community liaisons and the safety supports in a system that was structured around, what we would call systemic racism. We are all part of that system, and now we're being challenged to make changes in it, not only in the behavior of others, but in our own behavior. And I just thank the Black Organizing Project for putting us in this place. I want to thank the principals who have come to talk to me, both with their fears and concerns, and also with their hopes and dreams. I want to especially thank the superintendent for taking the lead, because as a former principal, I know that once we get the message from the superintendent that we're going this way together, our staff leadership will follow aggressively, imaginatively, so that we can reimagine safety in our district in a different way. Finally, it's really important for me to also mention, that in my last conversation, I mentioned the assassination of Marcus Foster in 1973, our superintendent, and his deputy who was seriously wounded, Dr. Blackburn. And so it doesn't go without mentioning that the safety of our superintendent and her wellness and her possibility to continue this important leadership work should be paramount in any kind of initiative that we do talking about system safety. She's too modest to talk about it herself, so I take it upon myself to challenge the people thinking about safety to consider the safety of our leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Yee. Vice President Gonzalez.
Thank you. I really want to acknowledge Director Torres and Director Harris, and especially the Black Organizing Project. The longer I'm in this role, the more I realize that sometimes we lead, but sometimes we follow. And, it's, no, really, like that's a lot of our job is to listen and follow. And, Bob, you guys were one of the first groups that I met with when I joined the board. And at that time we were talking about the disruptive, I can't remember what the exact term was, but the no suspensions for disruptive behavior. And you guys have, been with me. I'm in my 6th year, and every year we meet, and, you guys have really been pushing us on this. So I just want to commend you for really, really successful and super broad. Like I've never seen Oakland come together in this way. And it's really something to see. And there's very few things that everybody can agree on. So it's been beautiful. For me, this is really about, prioritizing our students' needs and sending the message to them that like that really is what we care about. And so making sure that we are prioritizing student services and supports is really what this was about for me. And so I'm glad that we can take this step. At the same time, I realize that that we're taking a leap of faith, and we're asking our principals and our staff to take a leap of faith. And so I'm really excited to see the community process come together around the safety plan, and really urge that we continue to make sure that staff and parent voices are included, and student voices are included in that, because we are asking our principals. I too have heard from my principals who are saying, yes, we don't want to be over policing, but we need, to make sure that we have a plan here. And so I think just making sure that we continue to include all of those voices at the table. And then finally, I just want to say to our police that, this really isn't personal. This is really about making, prioritizing. And I appreciate the years of service. And most police, I know that you guys care about our students. And this is just, so I just want to be clear that I realize that this is a big victory in a lot of ways, but that there are people who are, at the end of this process going to suffer. And I just want to be really clear that this is, it's really not personal. It's about making a prioritization decision that prioritizes the people who are working with our students every day. And so it's probably cold comfort, but I just wanted to say that I recognize this as a big victory and really doing something important for kids, and that there's consequences for other folks in the system. And so that's where I'll leave it. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about the safety plan when we come back from our recess.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on this item? Director Ng and then Director Hinton-Hodge.
Great. Thank you so much. Please bear with me.
Garibo. Sorry. Go ahead, Director.
Yeah. Sorry. Please bear with me. I believe this is a historic moment. I really wanted my son to be here with me, because I do believe this is a moment that we'll look back on. And as we imagine the new Oakland and the new Oakland that we want to see, I just wanted to make sure this was part of it. So I also just want to echo the thank you to particularly to Black Organizing Project for the relentless commitment to this issue for the past decade, and all of the parents, the organizers, the community members that you mobilized with this widespread coalition. Excuse me. And really teaching me that how can we, as lots of excitement here, how can the city of how can a city that birthed the Black Panther movement and a city that is so known for our activism not be leading on this issue? We are a full service community school district. We work nationally around both PBIS and restorative justice. And so this is a tremendous opportunity for us to continue to build on that work and to build out an alternative safety plan. And so I wholeheartedly support the resolution and all of the thousands of emails that we've gotten in support of this. I support it and without delay and without amendments. And I'm really looking forward to alternative safety plan process, for that to be a community-driven process where we're building upon the momentum of all of the community members that have put time and energy into this. This is just the beginning for us to be able to continue to build on this partnership. And finally, I will say that I do believe this is a time for us in public sectors and public agencies to be thinking about our resources differently, and to really center our resources around what's best for students and for children. I'm incredibly disappointed that the City Council didn't entertain some of the a proposal around amendments to the budget that would have supported mental health and other types of supports, including the alternative safety plan last night, because I do think that we need, as the public sector, need to be thinking differently and thinking holistically and think more broadly about how we can best center our students, in particular with an equity lens, how we can best center our students in our work around the whole child. And so with that, I'm honored to support this resolution, look forward to continuing the work ahead, and Casey's here joining with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Hinton-Hodge, would it be okay with you if I go to Director Garibo?
Director London, I could be last. Let's
go to Director Hinton-Hodge then. Go ahead, Director Hinton-Hodge.
It's fine.
Okay,
It's fine.
Director Garibo, why don't you go now then? Director Garibo, it's your turn.
Am I the last one?
No, Director Hinton-Hodge will go after you. Go ahead.
I can hear you, Director London.
Director Hinton-Hodge will speak after you. If you can go now, please.
I can hear you.
It's your turn, Director Garibo. Please, we're waiting for your comments.
Hello? Oh, I would really appreciate if I could go last, because mine takes up more time.
Okay, fine. We'll go to Director Hinton-Hodge.
Thank you.
Everyone's being given 3 minutes. That's what every director's being given. You have a student director report also after this. Go ahead, Director Hinton-Hodge.
So I just, for process sake, I want to know, I have my own soliloquy, but I also have amendments. So should I try to split between that, or is there going to be just further debate? Because I want to bring forward some amendments. What's your suggestion? Just in terms of timing. You know, you're on.
We can do another round if you need more time.
Okay, that would be great. That would be great. And so, I second this motion only to stay inside the process, but it is with absolute acknowledgement that we're experiencing this uprising. And I really kind of want to name, in the spirit of like a Breonna Taylor, of George Floyd, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, Yvette Henderson, Rashard Brooks, Andreas Guardado, Oscar Grant, and then so many other names. And that for me, this has been about an ending to police brutality and being called out and named as something that Black folk suffer from, and that there's a real stop, a saying of stop by Black Organizing Project and all of the many advocates and folks that did outreach around really minimizing and stopping the destruction of Black bodies in our minds. And so in light of that, I'm adding my and I'm the first in line to talk about the structures that need to actually change inside of OUSD that actually diminish Black excellence. So this is a winds of change that we're looking at, institutional change and systems change. And so as a result of the resolution, I would demand that the Board of Education actually look honestly inside its own institution, from instruction inside the classroom, to its curriculum, to its operations, to its hiring and retention of employees, our practices that perpetuate whiteness inside of the system. This resolution should amazing sustained engagement even through this meeting by Bob and all of those other folks. And so I've just really kind of welcomed my own kind of growing edge in this work and really listening to amazing and diverse perspectives that I've encountered. I actually gained a friend out of the many phone calls that I got. And I want to personalize this with a couple of things. Just the ancestral wisdom that has been like pushing at me is that my uncle, Otis L. Hinton, was one of the first Black men to integrate in the Raleigh, North Carolina police force. And he was the first Black sergeant. He was the first Black lieutenant. He was the first Black captain. He was the first Black man to be a part of an investigative unit, a part of that police force in the late 60s and 70s. And he was a freedom rider first. And so it's with that energy that it makes it actually difficult for me to talk about the abolishment of police. Whereas I really think the idea of reform and reimagining can be that. And yet I've had some amazing sister friends and elders that have helped me push forward to think about what it is to not have our community as policed. And so I'm really excited for that journey alongside of folks. And then the last piece, in terms of just even thinking about the specialized police force and kind of where my energy comes from that. As someone who's a survivor of domestic violence, but someone who worked with domestic violence clients in San Francisco, and I worked in a part of a police department that had a very specialized DV unit. And so it made a real difference when there were police officers and that had an idea and a notion of what was happening in the community. And I've been a part of community policing conversations for decades. And so I believe that our force was that. I believe that our force would actually kind of be the model for that in that way. And so I have resolutions that I'll share, amendments I'll share later, but I do want to dedicate these amendments that I am doing not to those that have passed on, but to the living and to the Black children that live inside of OUSD. So this is in honor of Gianna Floyd, the daughter of George Floyd, who definitely said her daddy was changing the world. And so I'm excited to do this work in her honor. And happy Father's Day to George Floyd. You definitely have been the change that our world and our communities have needed. So I'll stop there and later want to provide some very specific amendments that speak to addressing racial equity inside of the school district.
Okay, thank you, Director Hinton Hodge. We'll go now to Director Garibo.
Hello, everyone. I'm very blessed to be here. I want to hella thank the Black Organizing Project for holding this down and doing this for hella years. You know, me and Director Smith-Dahl haven't been present at the board meetings because we've been standing in solidarity with the community, with Bob out there marching for this, fighting for this with them, and showing what the power of the youth looks like. You know, I'm very optimistic and hoping that this board stands on the right side of history and continue to support the work of Bob and many other youth organizations that have been advocating on this issue for so long. You know, because we have heard of OEA, SEIU, but we forget about all the youth-led organizations like Youth Together, Oakland Kids First, and ACC. All City Council Student Union represents the 36,000 students in our district. And those 36,000 students in our district have been standing in solidarity with Bob and advocating with them for years. You know, instead of cutting police, y'all keep on cutting assistant principals, restorative justice, and all of these needs that keep our youth of color on the right path. So we most definitely need to start listening more to our community and students on every single decision this board makes. Now, I will go ahead and read a statement that was created by All City Council Student Union and alumni who very proudly supports the George Floyd resolution. The All City Council Student Union is in full support of the George Floyd resolution, and we urge you to stand with OUSD students, the Black Organizing Project, and the national movement to make all schools police free now. As the Oakland Student Union, ACC represents the voices of the 36,000 students in OUSD, and we are committed to making sure that students' voices are uplifted and heard by the district's decision makers. The George Floyd resolution not only is about police-free schools, but about putting into action our OUSD values of students first and equity and reinvesting in our student needs. Since the passing of the school board adopted student engagement standards in 2006, ACC has worked to prioritize the students' identified needs with the goal of improving the outcomes and experiences of the youth in OUSD. When ACC launched our campaign, Making It Through G Real in 2008, students identified 3 system pillars that would increase the rates of OUSD youth graduating prepared for college, career, and life, and one of the pillars named was safety in school culture and climate. Through our annual youth participatory action, research, and district student engagement efforts, ACC has engaged over 20,000 students. And one thing that is clear to us is that students not benefit from police on our campuses. Last year, as you recall, ACC led a process to identify the top budget priorities for students by responding to our main research question. What do you believe to be the most valuable aspects of your OUSD experience? People, programs, initiatives, service, all those things that have positively transformed your educational experience and have prepared you for life after high school. The ACC student budget priorities were supported by over 100,000 students who took the ACC Student Equity Survey. As the result, we proposed 4 budget priorities which advocated for funding for necessary resources, such as the ones the George Floyd resolution proposes. OUSD police was not mentioned at all as a budget priority for students. As a representative body for OUSD students, we do not believe that policing is a worthy investment of OUSD funds for our youth. For the last 12 years, All City Council and other youth organizers have advocated for restorative justice, mental health counselors, and other necessary resources for our Oakland students to succeed, all which invest in a student's right to just have an equitable education that supplies them with knowledge and tools to be college and career ready. Oakland School Police does not effectively support our student needs, unlike programs such as restorative justice that teaches us conflict resolutions and healing practices. By divestment police-free schools, it will improve the culture and climate of our campuses. Police and schools do not do this. If anything, it makes our Black and brown students feel unsafe, and without safety, students are not able to learn. In the
Director Garibo, your microphone is muted. Director Garibo, somehow your microphone is muted. Director Garibo, we cannot hear you. Director Garibo, we can't hear you. Somehow your microphone got muted about 30 seconds ago.
Did y'all just mute me, or?
We don't know what happened, but
I muted the whole time?
Not the whole time. No, not the whole time, just for the last 30 seconds.
Okay. Are y'all listening though? Because
we're listening, but we do need you to conclude because we need to move on with the
okay.
Meeting.
You got muted around the time that you mentioned what the equity issues are.
In the unprecedented times we are living in with the worldwide pandemic and a time of scarce resources for our schools, it is now more than ever the time for us to eliminate the systems, policies, and practices that continue to hurt our youth and families in Oakland. The Black Organizing Project's George Floyd resolution is part of the journey to make education equitable for all students. If students first is to remain one of the values of OUSD, we hope that these recommendations can contribute towards the guidance and direction in your decision at the upcoming board meeting, while also uplifting years of OUSD student voice. As your primary and largest constituents, we urge you to vote yes on the George Floyd resolution to eliminate the Oakland School Police Department. Thank you. Let's do this for our ancestors, y'all, and the generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to Director Garibo and the All Cities Council and our students. I also want to thank the community. You can time me if you want. I don't think this will take very long. I want to thank the Black Organizing Project, and I want to thank the community for really coming out and speaking your truth. And I'm very interested in making sure that this resolution will have the right weight to really change the system, right? This is about the system. And so for me, that's really important. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. And I want to offer my support to the superintendent as she moves forward with this work. She's going to start this work no later than August, assuming this resolution passes. And I want to stand by you, Superintendent, and everyone who's going to be working with you, because these will be big decisions. So those are my remarks. I'm excited to see where this will go. I know that we had a request for another round. Director Hinton Hodge, you indicated you had more to say. Sure. So can we go back to you now, please?
Thanks so much. And so to General Counsel, I believe he's passed around some of the amendments or the added pieces to it. So I'm going to go from what feels good to support and improve. I also just want to acknowledge that usually we would have had.
Excuse me, would you like me to bring them up now or later?
You can give them up.
I think now would be the right time.
Now would be perfect. I would just want to acknowledge that, that we started a process in March. We said we were going to review and look at a safety plan. And then with the death of George Floyd and a movement 30 days in, right, of sustained push and resistance and calling for an end to institutions that harm Black folk, right? So this is a critical moment. So what and I would say that the African American Male Achievement, African American Female Excellence Group, and then just countless other people helped me kind of like frame some of these things and again try to lean in. So I'll try to just kind of, you can tell me how you want to deal with them. But the first one is, and this came from a veteran African-American male educator inside the district. And this whole proposal from day one has always been about take the $2.5 million and get restorative justice counselors or get nurses, et cetera. And there's been a huge emphasis how that has struck me is that it's been this whole emphasis on the trauma of our children and just and a certain level of pathologizing in my mind around it. And so this veteran teacher, male teacher, educator, administrator now said, could we look at instruction? Like, could we look at engagement that happens inside the classroom? So I would ask that in any planning and any looking at resources that we're actually talking about not just the emotional supports that are needed, but that we're actually looking at how do we improve instruction inside of classrooms and that resources should be put in that direction as well. So that's the first one. And while most of this has been focused on Black students, I'm hoping that if we work with Black students, this is going to be impactful for all students. The other and that was basically a whereas in there that I put in terms of like feeling like a commitment to the overall health of our young people and their academic health. So the next piece around be it further resolved, you have a resolve that actually speaks to the superintendent instructing and doing working with unconscious bias and that kind of thing, et cetera. And I want to call this out just with President London's kind of comments and, Director Ng, bringing her son into it and this new Oakland and this new change. And then also coming from a space of how I sit in this space as a Black woman and a Black leader, what it means to actually be in leadership and be in governance. And I would strongly recommend and ask your support that it also be further resolved that this board actually commits to doing the similar work of receiving unconscious and implicit bias and anti-racism training. And so that's not something just for the staff to do or a classroom teacher to do, but that's really work that has to happen at this level of the organization as well. And then the other piece is, and this is a budgetary piece, and again, if we had more time, I would have probably did more research on this, but what the experience is, and I think Student Director Garibo spoke to this, is that in many people where we cut. I got into, a scuffle trying to get into a board meeting to stop the cuts on foster, care managers, et cetera, right? And so there's got to be a real conversation, and maybe that comes in September, and in this process around what is the sustained budget? What could be the sacred cow that you do not touch inside of this district's budget? And I'm proposing that the race equity work that we do and we say we want to do is actually going to be something that happens. I think that in the beginning, it's probably something $300,000 to $400,000 a year, where we can make a full investment from the boardroom all the way down to the classroom. The next piece is I really want to see, and this might be a direct to the superintendent, is around what is a real race equity framework inside of the school district. I've heard of targeted universalism. We gave big props to Baba Chris and his work, and he's leaving, but you don't feel equity inside this organization. You don't feel, a racial parity inside this organization, right? Next week, we'll be battling whether or not McClymonds High School, the predominantly Black high school, will be deserving of enough money based on its enrollment, right? We have laid off 6 or 7 Black women at a time in the department in the restructuring, and someone afterthought said, oh, they were all Black women. So we have to really look at these things throughout the entire organization. So I want to know what that framework is going to be, and I would suggest that we, in this planning process, that we do this. And to President London, I just have a couple of more. And it really is affirming that police or, security guards, SSOs, they are not the people responsible doing student discipline. They're culture keepers, et cetera. And so we need to name that. I don't want to see stereotypically Black men predominantly in that role all of a sudden become the disciplinarians inside of schools, right? And the last piece is about, and it's lined out, right? It's around the community side of it. And so at times the experience that people have pushed back with me around, like this has been, the fights that happen sometimes on campus between family members. I've had a cousin that has shown up on a campus to like beat somebody down, right? So there's a way in which to Bob or to anyone else, the conversation needs to be about how will we hold ourselves as a community accountable and make sure that this safety plan is actually played out and understood within community in that particular kind of way. If I had more time, it would really be about really showing some data points around, teachers and the cause, understanding more about how we can use different services instead of the police in different kinds of ways, like as we talk about. I guess that'll come in the safety plan. So these are kind of the initial ideas that I have. And I just want to, I want to just tweak this racial equity issue as well. My very big concern is that in the pathologizing of our children, and if we don't have any race parity or race equity inside the organization, we might very well just replicate a system that we have now, which is like 50% non-Black and brown or non-folks of color teaching our students. And we say that that's a struggle to get folks of color. And so I'm not really looking for more social workers or more nurses or more restorative justice people that are not ethnically connected and culturally relevant and responsible to work with our young people. So that's where I'm coming from with the framework, so that it allows us to do better work, as we say, we're going to use our money in a different kind of way. So
thank you,
that's about 7 things, y'all.
So you are offering these as amendments to the resolution, am I correct?
Yeah.
So if these are amendments that you're offering, I need to go to the maker of the motion, who I believe was Director Torres. to see if she will accept these amendments. So Director Torres, you've seen the amendments that Director Hinton-Hodge has brought forward. Do you accept them into your motion?
I do not. And the reason being is one of the things that I've seen for 8 years in this district is that after we adopt a policy, and I know Vice President Gonzalez, when she joined the board, she was filled with many ideas that were positive, that were going to move us in the right direction. And that's before our current supervisor's time. We've had so many superintendents, since I've been on the board. And the administrative regulations is what this language, this last minute, never saw it, didn't know about it. I think that it's extremely important that the administrative regulations are the execution, are the direction for the superintendent. And so a lot of this language could be its own resolution, to be quite honest. And so I do not accept it. And I know we'll take a vote, but I do think that this is what would lend itself to a very strong start for the regulations of the resolution. And I can't get into all of the issues because I think that based on the very last meeting of the year, I would have rather have been able to do this resolution earlier, but that wasn't possible based on other things that I was presenting prior to this. And then I have a new legislative matter tonight that I've worked on, so with principals. So the thing is that I would not, but I do think that it's appreciated. I appreciate it, and I know it's relevant. But for this resolution, I would not accept this level of change last minute. And I typed up on my, or I wrote down on my pad that's next to me. These are my Director Hinton-Hodge. These are my initial ideas, and I see that this resolution is not perfect because we're working with budget and we're working with what's happening with COVID and the changes to our budget and the schools, are they going to reopen? So the fact that we are working at such a higher level this end of the school year, it is not possible to really understand all of these changes and the effect of the whole resolution and what it stands for on the fly with initial thoughts and ideas that are coming forward. So,
Okay, let me just address on the fly a little bit, because I don't want to take offense of what you're saying, because what was in effect was that this never had a first reading, and we were given instructions that we really couldn't talk to the authors of any of this stuff, right? And so I was in a position where this was the only space that I could actually bring this forward. So I just want to be really clear with you. I'm not on the fly. I'm not last minute in terms of like wanting to bring it forward. And the second thing is, this is addition. I'm definitely not trying to take anything away. This is just to add to it. And I do agree with you. Like, it actually could stand alone as a race equity policy without a doubt. So, and then the third thing,
I would want to contribute to that, definitely, because I think this.
So folks, in order to keep us moving,
that you are saying that you do not want to add that the Board of Education would be responsible for doing race equity implicit bias training. That's the amendment. That's one amendment you would not want to see added. That the Board of Education wouldn't do that work.
Well, so my understanding is that the safety plan is going to get into the aspects, because this is a resolution on a department being closed, and a department being closed for the reason that it's a department that's not worth funding after years, decades of cuts, and therefore the deeper and more fleshed out issues that you're raising here, I think, are much longer resolution, which are to say that we as a district stand for XYZ, and then we would be able to have a full resolution on the issues that you raise here, as opposed to we're closing a department here. And so I think we're starting to veer into other areas.
If I may, colleagues, in order to keep us moving. So Director Torres did not accept the amendment. Director Hinton-Hodge, I assume your motion is still on the floor to amend the resolution with the red line changes that have been presented. Is that correct?
It needs a second.
It would need a second. And if
right. Is there a second? I'm asking now if there is a second to the amendments. I will offer a second. So we now can take a vote on the amendments unless there is discussion that people want to bring forward. Director Yee. This is on the amendments.
Is this one amendment or is it a disaggregated set of 9 amendments?
Director Hinton Hodge,
It's hard to do this on the fly.
You're absolutely right, which is why we probably should have had a first reading. But since we were pressing through to have it at this meeting, the vote, then this is what happened.
And I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, Director
What it
Hinton
is,
Hodge.
Director E, is that the first, it's a whereas clause that I wanted to have added that would commit the board to be responsible for doing implicit bias and anti-racism training. So that's one thing to vote on, to say yes or no to. The other piece is to look at this district. And again, it could very well it is directed at the superintendent to make sure that there is a very clear race equity framework around doing this work. Because my premise is that this is about supposedly Black excellence and Black wellness inside the system. And so in order to do that, we need to have a framework. And so that's what I don't see that clearly inside this organization. And I'm asking that is something that is getting developed during the safety plan piece, right? Like, I'm not saying this is again, the policy that says, supposedly in your language, in your words, Director Torres and Gonzalez and Harris, right? You've instructed her to do some stuff around these particular things. You've said that this is about Black lives. This is about, making sure that they are in a place and they're not uncomfortable around learning. So these resolutions are about, we do that particular work in order to make sure that there's a framework to do it. That's what they are. I don't think that I'm pretty sure that they're not in like Fulani. Like it's very straight language. And I do apologize for not giving it to you early. I was upheld to the rules of I'm not supposed to share anything with anyone. So that's the reason why you didn't get it beforehand.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there further discussion? I can't see.
I have one more comment to make, President London, which is to say that.
Can we go? Wait, go ahead, Director Torres, and then we'll go to Vice President Gonzalez.
Okay, I apologize. 30 seconds. In regard to the equity policy we adopted, there is still the need for that policy. And this is what I said first. We don't do the follow-up admin regulations, which tell staff how to carry out and do the work. And because we'd have a churn of superintendents every 2 years or 1 year or 18 months, that work would fall off. And unfortunately, our superintendent inherited many policies without the back end of admin regulations. So the equity policy is where admin regulations are still pending approval. And I know the staff that did drafts, and they talk about implicit bias, across the board training, the elimination of racism, and elimination of any disparate treatment toward our students for better outcomes. So that's where this language falls. And it talks about white supremacy or white privilege. So I'm just saying there is work that we've been adopting in these past 8 years. And that's where the admin regulations already lie. And we can revive that equity policy that we didn't finish.
So let's go next to Vice President Gonzalez, and then we can go to Student Director Garribo.
So I want to thank you.
And then after Garribo, we will go to Ng.
Okay.
Go ahead, Vice President Gonzalez.
Director Hinton Hodge. I think these are really, really great ideas. And I also my feeling is we have already articulated a process here about how this work is going to be developed and how it's going to roll out in the form of this committee that people are already serving on and working on. So to me, it feels like we should take these ideas that are super important. I think the training piece, is the piece that's most compelling to me, and refer them to the committee that Bob will be part of, that teachers and principals and other folks will be part of, and say, these are some of the first suggestions or first ideas, and these are coming from Director Hinton Hodge, and allow that committee to take them up, to really flesh them out. And then the safety plan will come back to us when we come back in the fall, in August. So
just clarify to me, you already have a committee?
Colleagues, that would be my suggestion about how we handle these amendments, is that we refer them to the safety committee that that Superintendent, Johnson Trammell is building. That's going to develop.
Clarifying. Thank you.
Student Director Garribo.
I just want to truly say that y'all are hella disrespecting the work of the Black Organizing Project. They said that they didn't want no updates on this resolution. All of the work that's here has already. Y'all got me on mute?
We hear you.
No?
Go ahead. We hear you.
Okay, sorry. All of the work that's here has already been advocated by the Office of Equity. Now, we can't make y'all listen to us. It's on y'all to listen to us. So it's truly disrespectful that y'all putting updates on this resolution that the community worked on, and y'all want to make this about y'all. This is not about y'all. This is about the community. This is what the community wants. So come on. Let's leave the resolution as it already is. Let's leave the resolution what the Black Organizing Project worked on.
We will.
Let me be really clear. This is not about actually y'all or me. What it's about is my understanding and knowing that when you remove 7 police officers or you rearrange the titles as SSOs, there will still be what happens in our classroom is the undereducation of our children. And there will still be bias that happens, right? And so it was a latter amendment that was put in there about the staff and the teachers doing that. I know it because it wasn't in the first resolution. And so I know that the thought has been, we have to, if there's a partnership with OEA, then all this is a much more clarifying piece. And the second thing, to the point that it is about us, if we're the governing board of this organization and we don't do race equity work and we don't do implicit bias work, then it becomes very, very difficult in my mind to think about how is it that I actually make budgetary decisions? How do I really say I'm committed to a Black and brown teaching force if I'm not addressing those things? So it is going to be fine, but I do want it to be really clear on the record that these are things that are being said. Let's not vote on them, but let's move them into some kind of committee space. So that's fine. Because once again, I have seconded this motion. And so I will be a part of that. And I will make sure that there are real conversations that are actually going to happen around this. And so I will continue to bring it.
What is going to happen is after we're done with discussion on this amendment, we will vote on the amendment and then we will vote on the full motion.
Wait, President London, I just want to make sure. Is
Can we even call the question then?
Her motion?
She made her motion and I seconded it.
Right, but I think I just heard her say she's okay with referring to the safety plan committee. Did I hear that?
No, Director Gonzalez, I'm saying if it gets voted down, it will be fine.
Director Ng.
Yes, thank you. I just want to appreciate Director Hinton-Hodge's leadership on this issue for the entirety that she's been on the board around really pushing the system around having a racial equity focus. And furthermore, I also know that she has also been lifting up the issue of the admin regs around the equity policy that Director Torres also raised. And so, I think it's going to be a difficult process to go line by line around the red line version. So I don't know if Director Hinton-Hodge, I would be willing to support a separate racial equity policy. I absolutely think the board needs to be undergoing implicit bias trainings. I appreciate the resources that you've shared, and I'm looking into those. But there's some places like with budgets and other places where I don't know if it's good practice to write it into policies. So I would like to find another legislative vehicle for this and or push around the admin regs. And I appreciate your leadership on this, but I'm not going to support the amendment in this format. But I do want to partner. I am willing to want to partner to make sure that we elevate this issue, particularly building on the momentum around this. I think there's a lot of support for this, and I appreciate that you continually bring us back to uplifting the systemic failures and how we need to continue to be using both training ourselves and be elevating the inequities through a racial lens. So thank you.
Is there any further comment on this amendment? Let's call the question on the amendment, please.
On the motion to adopt the amendments as proposed, Student Director Smith-Dahl, not with us. Student Director Garibo. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
We're voting, Director Garribo, we're looking for your vote on the amendments. This is just on the, thank you.
Yeah.
Director Ng.
No.
Director Hinton Hodge.
Yes.
Director Yee.
No.
Director Torres.
No.
Director Harris.
Well, I didn't get to speak, so time out. Director Hinton Hodge, I support the board taking race equity training. I think that's an important statement to make going forward, and I think that's something that we could include. I support the first whereas statement. I think I have some questions about the other four things, particularly around the budget impact, but I do not see a problem with proceeding with those things. I think for a board in the future, they need to understand the world from a Black perspective, from a person of color's perspective, and that doesn't come with getting elected to office. So I don't want that to get written off as something, because this is about how do we think about the future. So time back in, I'm going to vote no on that, on them in total, but I did want to pay respect to what I think does work in terms of inclusion in the resolution.
So your vote is no on the amendments as stated. Vice President Gonzalez?
No.
President London?
Yes.
The amendments are not agreed to.
Great. Let's call the roll now on the motion as originally stated.
On the main motion as stated?
Oh, hold on. London, there's a couple more things. There's a question about the language that I think people want to hear more. Director Torres, do you have any insight into, folks are asking about the words almost all, elimination of almost all OSPD employees, and I don't know if you wanted to speak to that question, what that was referring to.
Director Torres, if I may, Director Gonzalez, if I may, we have an item later in the agenda, item P19, that specifies the elimination of every position in the Oakland School Police Department.
Okay, thank you.
On the motion.
Yeah, because this is about an entire department, so that's why there is a subsequent resolution that was in the event that this resolution passed.
On the motion to adopt the main motion.
Sorry. I beg your pardon. So I'm appreciating Director Harris's words and Jody London's, President London's speech. So I'm wondering if there is an amendment just to simply add an additional whereas. Not a whereas. Yeah, whereas. Is that another motion that could be made for an amendment?
It could be made. You could try it.
So Amy, you want to make that? Director Ng, did you want to make that? I saw a little bit of a chat.
Sorry. Yeah, so I wanted to clarify because I thought what I heard was an amendment around the board doing implicit bias trainings. I would second that. I would also second the inclusion of the staff. There was some clarification around the types of like instructional and some of the types of staff. So I would move a motion for those two amendments to be included. They seem like.
Well, Madam President, these suggestions are subject to the same process. If the makers of the motion accept them as friendly, you will not have to do a second amendment.
Okay, so can you please state the motion, Director Hinton Hodge, because you have the language in front of you. Could you repeat it, please?
So this is to the maker of the motion, is that I don't have it in front of me. There it is. Is it?
This, I believe, is your red line, yes.
This is not. This is Josh's red line.
If you want to keep the red line, let me know. Or if you want to delete it, I will simply undo the addition. So is this whereas something that you'd want to keep or delete?
So to General Counsel, it was a very specific whereas that spoke to the Board of Education.
May I?
Yeah, it almost replicated the superintendent staff one. Instead, it inserted our names.
So my interest is just to preserve the, so it's the instructional, teaching, and other certificated staff, and then including the requiring the board to do implicit bias trainings.
Yeah.
I think it builds upon the work of that Black Organizing Project, the community, and many others have really elevated. And so I don't see it as a distraction, but I would like us to take a vote, because I know there's a lot of folks that are waiting for us to weigh in on this. But I do want to appreciate and just I would support integrating those two.
Did you have it, General Counsel? It's only that one thing.
Yeah, I'm just
The
making
board
sure.
commit, you just passed it.
Yep. So I'm just taking out all of the ones that. So,
You can
Director
put in
Ng and
as
Director
much as
Hodge, these would be the two the changes.
Hang on.
Adding.
She also mentioned the whereas that you.
I don't believe there wasn't a whereas to this effect.
Okay.
There's only in the be it resolved. So
Those were the two that I was offering as friendly amendments.
There you go.
I was offering Director Torres to consider as friendly amendments.
Yes. Director Torres. Thanks, General Counsel.
So is the question whether I'll accept that change as it currently stands?
Yes, the board
two that
committed.
are on the screen in front of you.
The board
Yes,
committed.
I would accept those changes, yes.
Thank you, Director Torres. So the motion on which we are voting now includes the language that is before you on your screen in red line. I will read it to make sure that everyone is clear on what it is. This is in the be it further resolved. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education directs the superintendent to implement training for all staff, new language, including instructional, teaching, and other certificated staff in the areas of new language, instruction, as well as unconscious or implicit bias, anti-racism, as well as a culturally responsive multi-tier system of supports via the onboarding of new employees and annually for all other employees during their time working in the district on behalf of children, and then an entirely new. So that was an amended be it resolved, an entirely new be it resolved that says be it further resolved that the board commits to ensuring that board members themselves attend and receive unconscious or implicit bias and anti-racism training. Those are now incorporated into the motion, and we will now call the roll. Mr. Rakestraw, you are on mute.
Get unmuted. Okay. Now, on the motion, as stated with the modifications, Student Director Garibo. I cannot hear you, sir.
I just want to emphasize that the student director's vote always reflects the voting of the community. And this is what the community wants.
Yes or no, sir?
This is a yes.
Director Ng?
Resounding yes.
Director Hinton Hodge?
Yes.
Director Yee?
Yes.
Director Torres? Director Torres, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
That's a big yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Vice President Gonzalez?
Yes.
President London?
Yes.
The motion.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, that was for the amendments, right?
That was, yeah, the motion was adopted with the amendments around implicit bias that we just saw. Thank you very much, everyone, for a somewhat difficult but really good discussion. I believe this is a good outcome, and I look forward to working with the superintendent and supporting her as she carries forward this work. I also want to really thank the members of our Oakland School Police Department and let you all know that we value the work that you've provided and the relationships you have with our children, and we will be looking at how to reconstitute and redevelop the work in a different way, but a way that will still be meaningful. So we're going to move on now. That was item I. We're now on item J, which is modifications to the agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda, colleagues? Director Hinton Hodge. Director Harris, why don't you go first?
Hello? So I got Micah on the phone. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here because she